Hello everyone, Nicole here. So this is going to be a little bit of a different video. It's definitely scrapbooking related, but it's more photo organization to help you scrapbook related. So I have been working a lot on just getting my stuff organized. My photos, my scrapbook albums, my layouts, my larger photos that, don't fit into the little cases, all those things. I, have a ton of photos from my parents that I am working on organizing and getting inserted into an organization system of some sort. And so it's been on my mind a lot getting this done, and it's felt really good because I felt very disheveled over the last, 7, 8 years with my photos and my scrapbook albums and my layouts. And so I don't like feeling disheveled. I'm an organized type of person. I like to have things in order and a system in place. And so I wanted to talk about this and do a video about what I've been doing, the process I followed, how I'm doing it little by little so it's not overwhelming, because I'm pretty sure most of us probably need to do this to some extent, maybe not as much as others. Because life gets in the way, it gets hard to, keep things organized. And because of digital photography, using our phones, we take so many more pictures than we used to. And so photo organization can be super overwhelming. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about kind of the main issues that I was having personally, that I'm sure a lot of you probably have similar situations going on. And then kind of what I'm doing to sort through that and get my photos, my scrapbook pages and albums in a place where I know exactly what I've printed, what I've scrapbooked, what needs to be printed, what needs to be scrapbooked. So some of the issues that I have come across is with my older photos. Before I went digital, and you take your film and you get it. You pay to get it printed. I would always get doubles. It was just what I did. It was a security thing for me. I wanted to have 2 of every photo. And a lot of times I'd give one to my mom and she'd do the same for me, because it was honestly the only way I could ever get into a picture is if my mom took photos of like me and my kids or something. And so she'd always make me double. So I'd have photos with actually me in them, which I loved. However, then when I got all of her photos, now I have doubles back, or I might even have multiples of a same situation where maybe me and her were together and we were both taking photos. So I have a lot of duplicates. So duplicate photos is an issue, okay? Because I had some photos from her and mine that were very similar, I am unsure of which ones I've scrapbooked, and or if I want to scrapbook them in a different way. For instance, I used to do a lot of mini albums when my girls were little. A lot of them are falling apart now. I still love them. I think I'm going to try to put some of them back together, but they aren't really being displayed right now. So I'm totally okay scrapbooking those photos again, and this is where I'm thankful that I have the doubles and making pages from them. But I need to figure out which photos did I put in those mini albums and which photos did I actually scrapbook in the albums. And which doubles do I want to actually still scrapbook, or which doubles I'm good, I've scrapbooked them, and I'm going to put them away where I know I don't have to deal with them anymore. Okay, so that's one issue. So I was in a good system for a while where I would, on a monthly basis, I would download photos from my camera, my SLR, my phone, my computer. I would get them all uploaded to like Walgreens or Walmart or something, Shutterfly, and I would print them monthly. And I had a really good system in place. I was on top of it. However, after we moved and life got a little chaotic, and I got the Canon selfie and then followed that up with the Epson Picture Mate, and started just printing my own photos, all of that went to craziness. So I went from being super good about printing all my photos to not printing my photos at all unless I was scrapbooking. And in that case, for a few years there, about the only time I was scrapbooking was when I'd go to scrapbook with my best friend Angie, and I would just take my Epson or my selfie, and I would just print photos as I wanted to scrapbook them there, and which was very random because it just depended on when I felt like working with, what collections I was working with. So, for instance, maybe I was there scrapbooking, and I'm like, I'm gonna scrapbook this prom picture, and I maybe print a couple of them off and scrapbook them. But then I have like 15 other prom pictures I also want to scrapbook, but I never revisited them again. And then over a couple of years, you kind of forget which ones have which ones have I scrapbooked, which ones have I not, which ones have I printed, which ones have I not. I know that there are ways you can like mark all these things in our galleries and things like that. I'm just not that with my phone and computer to like do that. Although I'm going to teach myself because that's how I want to move forward. So where I find myself now is, okay, my albums are pretty organized. I've been working really hard on like getting my girls' or all my layouts put away by date, and and by subject, and then by date. So I organize my albums in different themes and topics and subjects, and then I organize within them by the date. So like each daughter has a scrapbook album for each year and that kind of thing. And then I have like a family album with all the other photos. And then I have like Christmas and Halloween and Thanksgiving and Easter. And so, and the reason I do that versus putting them all together is for the holidays, I like to display them as part of my decor. So I'll put out my Christmas albums and people can look through Christmas layouts. I'm not saying that won't ever change. Maybe someday I'll just scrap that and just put them all together by year. But right now I don't. And so where I found myself is I find myself printing photos multiple times because I forgot that I already printed them. And maybe I may have stuck them in a collection kit because I, intended to use a particular collection to scrapbook certain photos, but I forgot I'd printed them. I kind of had a mess on my hands. I was very disheveled as far as like, I don't know what I've printed. I don't know what I've scrapbooked. Because it's really easy to forget what you've scrapbooked. I know it shouldn't be, but it really kind of is. So anyway, so here's the process I'm following. And in order to kind of get myself organized and together to where at least I can look at a particular year and know what needs to be scrapbooked yet and what already has. I don't want to make like a big old long list of scrapbook pages I've made. I just don't want to do that. So what I've done first is I got all my pictures organized by date. I have, I think, 3 of the little cases that hold these types of photo organizers. My goal is to get my photos out of these. Like, I don't want to use these. I want to use these for all my ephemera and die cuts because, yes, I have that many to organize and I'm going to need all of these. So I want to get these empty. But what I did first was sometimes you just have to do batch work. So I just got all my 2018 photos that I have already printed and I got them in a pile. And then what I did is I sorted those photos by topic, by how I would how I would organize them in my scrapbooks, right? So I have, for instance, like this pile is Keaton, my oldest daughter. So her pictures from that year. So I have Keaton, and then I have, I think she's most of these actually. And then I have like some family together time pictures. Then I'd have a bunch of pictures from Mallory, and then there's Mallory's birthday. And so I have them organized then by topic and by theme. Okay. So that is step 1, is just to get what I already have printed organized and figured out. Then the next thing, before I farm these out a little bit more, is I go to my Google Photos, and Google Photos is the best for me because my camera roll isn't, I don't know. I've gotten a couple of different phones over the last few years. It seems like whenever I transfer things over, my photos don't always transfer over correctly or by the right dates. Or when I download photos from like Facebook or social media, which I have a lot of those because like our school will post things, that the kids are involved in, and there's pictures of my kids. And so I'll download them, or if their friends post pictures, I'll download those. Those don't end up on my main camera roll. Those end up in my download list. And I didn't go to that list when I'd like upload to Walgreens because I didn't realize that they weren't all combined. And so I have all these photos that I like in my Google Photos. I was like, oh, I forgot this photo existed. Okay, so Google Photos is the place for me to go, and you can just go 2019 or whatever. So I would say 2018, and then I can just look at every single photo that was taken from my phone or my computer or whatever during 2018. And I just filtered through it and looked at each month, just month by month. I looked at the pictures that were on there. I looked to see, are they printed in here? I pulled my themed album or my themed photo boxes. So like this, for instance, is my fall. So Halloween, Thanksgiving, fall pictures. I have Christmas ones. I have Easter ones. And I pulled those out. I went through all my 2018 photos in those boxes. And then I pulled out my scrapbooks and did the same to see what I had scrapbooked. So I just took a good old heavy hard look at 2018 as a whole, what I scrapbooked, what pictures I have printed, and compared it to my Google Photos. And then what I did was I made a list. So if they were just like one-off pictures, like a picture I downloaded from Facebook about something, I just printed it. Also, if I came across any photos I had already printed that were really bad, for instance, like back in the day, if you would download from Facebook or Instagram or whatever, you really couldn't print a 4x6 of that. It would be way too pixelated. But nowadays, I know my phone has a remastering option that will take those really pixelated photos, like digital photos, and make them like almost perfect. And I can print them 4x6. So I'm also in this process reprinting any photos that need to be reprinted that maybe printed horribly from Walgreens or wherever. So what I'm doing then is as I go through my Google Photos, I'm making a list for that year for each month. Like look like you have not like if I had maybe a vacation or a big event or something that had a lot of photos that I hadn't printed and I hadn't scrapbooked yet, I just made myself a note. Some of these were more of a check the Halloween album because I didn't pull out every single album, but like I just made myself notes of like double check, say for instance, my nephew's graduation. I didn't pull out like that family's albums, but when I get to this list, then I will do that and say, okay, what have I scrapbooked from his graduation? Do I want to scrapbook a couple of those family photos and put them in our album as well? I can kind of assess that then. So I just made a list of just, here's some pictures that you need to print. And then I printed a whole bunch that maybe was one or two off. I just didn't want to print like thousands of photos at a time. I wanted to print all the kind of smaller batches that I could and get them caught up. And then some of the bigger things with lots of photos, or if I wasn't exactly for sure if I had, if they're maybe in another album somewhere. Like our dance pictures, I kind of have them pulled aside into a different project area kind of thing. So I made the list. And so that gives me a good look at what needs to be printed and scrapbooked. So then the next step is, once I've assessed that, then I go back to these and I'm going to pull out any like holiday themed photos, and I'm going to put them in a photo box. So for instance, okay, this is a bit of a mess, but this was organized at one point, but I've been just like throwing stuff in here. Sometimes it's like you have to be okay with like just getting things in one section and it may be messy. And then when you are ready, get to that section and then organize that, So, so for instance, I want to get all my Halloween pictures in here so I can assess what I've scrapbooked, what I need to scrapbook, and of that particular theme. So here I would pull out, certain dates of photos. I'd pull my Thanksgiving and my Halloween albums, assess what I've scrapbooked, and then I can make it like its own separate little list just for these particular photos. So here you can see I have some Halloween photos of Keaton, and so I would just pull these out and and then put these in here, because that's just a little bit easier to look at, and then to just grab one scrapbook album or maybe two scrapbook albums depending on the dates, and doing that assessment with that particular holiday or season. And the reason I have it organized by that is because if I'm going to scrapbook, if I'm in the mood to scrapbook Thanksgiving, I have Thanksgiving or, fall and Thanksgiving product. I can just pull one box and the product and then scrapbook, versus having to go through all my year's worth of pictures and finding the different pictures that go with that particular theme, if that makes sense. Okay. So these for now, I'm going to leave in my themed boxes. I'm okay with that. I think it works great. I also have a box for each, the years that my girls were born. So 2004, 2007, I actually have a photo box for each of those years. Because I had way too many pictures. I would have taken up like 18 of these. Okay, not quite, but close. And so then if there's a 2004 picture, 2007 picture, it's in its own separate box as well. And so then I can just go to like their first year of birth and, go through things that way. So these are just like my general, regular, just everyday kinds of pictures. Okay. So my goal now is I want to empty these guys because like I said before, I want these to be for my ephemera. So then what I'm doing is I'm taking these photos, let me get this out of the way, and I'm sorting them. They're already sorted, so I'm just dividing them out by topic or subject or person or theme or whatever. However, I have my albums organized. So Keaton Mallory, I have an album called Friends. I have an album that's just about myself. I have album, like I said, for each daughter, and then our family albums. So like together types of layouts. And then I have an album with pets. So I would divide them out that way and then have empty these. And then I'm going to actually pull the scrapbooks themselves. And I'm going to use up my bazillion divided page protectors that I have and put the actual unscrapped photos into the album. I don't know why I didn't think of this before, you guys. I've done this a bazillion times with vacations. Like I've taken like my Disney vacations and I've put all my photos into these divided page protectors into my Disney albums. And then I just pulled out pictures as I wanted to scrapbook and I scrapbook them. And I have so many divided page protectors because every time I go to scrapbook, I forget to pack them. So we go to Hobby Lobby and I buy packs of them. And so I might as well use them because I just have them. So now I have so this is 2019. This is a different year than what I just showed you. So after going through her album and knowing what I had scrapbooked, I was able to figure out, I was able to grab the photos I already printed, and then I will have to there is more to add to this because where did my sheet go? So this is 2019. So here I'm going to have to, I haven't done this yet. I will go to 2019 and assess any of Mallory's things here. Which of these things do I need to go back and print more of? And then I just put them into these divided page protectors. These are already done here. Oops, here. Oops. So this is done. This goes with this layout, but then I just tuck some in the back here. And so I know this particular concert needs to be scrapbooked yet, so I just put all the photos in there. And some of these are 2 or 3 deep. Like I just kind of stuffed them in there as long as they were the same topic. And so I know, okay, I need to scrapbook this particular music concert that she did. And then, and some of these might stay in a divided page protector. I'm guessing that's why I did this, was my intent was I'm going to fill up this backside. This is also a way to keep your albums organized. So if you do scrapbook where you do use divided page protectors as part of your scrapbooking and you don't want to end up with this random empty side, this also you can also organize that as you're doing this process. So here, I know that I'll probably put in 6 of like just the random group music photos here, and then I'll probably have a layout over here and maybe another layout on the back side. We'll see how that goes, because there's a couple of different stories I want to tell. She had a solo, she has pictures with friends, she has pictures with her music teacher, and that kind of thing. And so then what I'm going to do is, when I'm ready to scrapbook these photos, like this was a American themed concert, is I'm going to pull out my 4th of July kit, scrap these, and then I'm done with that section. And then I'll go and see what else I have to do. Okay, so here I have some volleyball pictures, some school photos, some friend photos, some band photos, and more band photos and volleyball photos, and then some other just random photos of her that were all taken from this year. So again, I can just come here and I can say, okay, I'm going to scrapbook some band photos and go pull my product that I want to scrapbook that with, and then I can just get the layouts done and put in here. But for now, the photos are in here and I don't have to worry about going to my camera roll or that kind of thing, with the exception of my list. And so when I do, so I can look at this and say, okay, October, there's some volleyball pictures of Mallory. Are any of those the ones that I maybe did have them printed, they just were in a different area and I found them? Or do I need to print some of those? And then I can go, oh, also more volleyball pictures in September. Let me look at those. And of course, I'm not going to print all of them, but I'm going to print the best ones. And then sledding photos, check with the winter album. So I just kind of, this is just a notation to myself. And so, so I can just use this and then just do one more double check. And then when I'm done, I know I've printed all the photos, and all the photos that need to be scrapbooked for Mallory for 2019 are in here. And that's going to be so much easier when I, just for my brain, because I'll know like that I've got everything printed that I want to have printed, and that if, say for instance, let me see here, give an example. I had scrapbooked, let me see if I can find something here. Okay, so here I had scrapbooked a couple of photos of her last day of school that particular year. I had one with some teachers, and then I had a picture of her with an award she got. But then I had not printed this class photo, probably because it was in my like downloaded section and not my photo gallery, so it just didn't get printed with everything else. And so I printed that, and then and that will go along with these 2 layouts, and that will be a different story in itself. Thankfully, I had like this great space here. I actually really like this paper too. So that's an example of how, like, sometimes, you know, I don't want to leave some pictures out just because I didn't print them initially, if that makes sense. Because I would just, you know, when I scrapbook on the road, I just go with what I feel like scrapbooking. I'm not real organized about it, and that leaves some photos in the dust. So I'm going to grab my other daughter's 2019 album to show you kind of how I did hers as well. Let me grab that really fast. 2019. If I can figure out where I put it. The only negative thing that I see to doing it this way is when I do go to scrapbook, it was easy just to grab one of my cases of photos and take those. However, I feel like I'm going to have enough photos from like the current year to print that it's going to be okay. I'm going to have plenty of photos to work with. Or I could just grab a couple albums that have unfinished layouts in them, you know, or photos and page and divided page protectors, and then I could just take that and then just work on those. So here's an example of, this is my daughter's 2019 album, and let's see here. So here's an example of where like she had some music stuff and I had scrapbooks of individual photos and layouts. Maybe I had done all that one. Okay, so here I had done some prom pictures, but I'd only done a handful of them, and then I have when her date asked her to prom, and then when she tried on the different dresses. So I just went ahead and kind of organized this. I actually just put in a page protector because I just decided I want to do one layout on the side of him asking her to prom because of how everything's fitting into the album, and then her choosing the dress. But then I have in here like all the dresses she tried on, her getting her hair done, and then the final pictures of her hair. So I'd already done these, but I'm like, well, I kind of want to also scrapbook a picture of her getting her hair done and talk about that a little bit. So, and then prom in itself, you take a bazillion pictures. Sorry, I'm kind of off camera here. Sorry for the glare. I'm back in my original spot because I thought that would be easiest. So prom, again, I had to sit down and say, what pictures have I printed? What pictures do I want to scrapbook? And then I just put them into these divided page protector to know that these are what needs to be scrapbooked yet from this evening. And again, some of these will stay in a divided page protector, but I do want to pull some of these out and make pages with them. And so, and then I just put I'm also really trying to organize all my ephemera and get it into the albums as well. So I have the promenade pamphlet or program there. So again, just have lots of photos of her from that year that need to be scrapbooked, getting her braces off, Spirit Squad pictures, homecoming, just random photos of her with our dog, an art thing that she did at a college, all kinds of different photos of her that I hadn't scrapbooked yet. And I have a lot more of her that I haven't scrapbooked than my youngest. But she was also older in school and involved in a lot more things. So these are all photos that need to be scrapbooked. But the thing is, I can just look in here really easily and just grab some things and scrapbook with it. And so there's that. So this one I might have to get a second album for. I don't think I'm going to fit all these in here. And then a few more. I kind of spread them out because they get kind of floppy. And so I just wanted to have them kind of spread out throughout the album. But so some more one act pictures. And so I've already scrapbooked some, let's see. No, I haven't that particular year. I haven't scrapbooked that one act yet, except for the post picture with our friends. And then, so yeah. So again, it's just a good snapshot of her year. The nice thing too about this is it's all organized by date. So if I don't get this scrapbooked, at least all of her photos from this year are all together with the layouts. But it will ultimately make it easier for me to get her year finished and her scrapbook finished for this particular year. And so again, I would just go here and I lost a flower. Oh, where did that come from? Huh. So here again, I would say, okay, let's look at prom. I think I already did that. I can check that off. There's some pictures of her and her cousin that I wasn't for sure if I had printed yet or printed or scrapbook. So I'll double check that. So again, these are just like notes, like just double check that like these photos I'm not for sure about, or these layouts I'm not for sure about. So that is going to be super helpful. And I kind of did them in separate stages. So I did the looking and the sorting of the photos and the Google list in one session. And then now down the road a little ways, I'm doing where I'm getting the pictures out of the photo cases and putting them into the albums, into the individual albums that they belong in. So I'll show you the piles that I have yet to put away. For 2019. Okay, so these are the other piles that I have to get put into divided page protectors in different albums. So for instance, these photos are going to go into a friend's album because it's hanging out with a group of friends. My husband's side of the family, my husband, a bunch of pictures of my husband, I'm going to get into his album. Me, these are like kind of more like family types of pictures where either the girls together or all of us together. I'm going to put those in the family albums. And then I have specific albums of me and Angie from our scrapbook weekends and just our time together as friends. And so I'll put that into Angie's album. And so, so then 2019 is all farmed out, minus what's on my list that I need to still print, but then I'll get those then put into the right category. So that is what I'm doing. And it's going to be a long process to do that, but it's going to help me assess a few different things. How much of each particular year of each daughter or subject or holiday do I need to scrapbook yet? Which vacations do I need to scrapbook yet or print yet? I actually didn't think I had one whole vacation printed, and I did. And I'm so thankful I didn't start printing them because I found them. I was like, oh, I did print all these. And they were pretty good prints from like Walgreens. So I can really just do a good assessment of like what I need to do for each year to be complete. And also I can assess how many more albums I might need, what albums do I need for particular trips, or do I want to do mini albums for some of them? Like I'm doing a 6x8 album of our Texas trip from a few years ago, and I'm printing those as I go because I'm printing multiple sizes. And so again, those are things that then using this Google list is I can write those things down and say, you need to, start thinking about how you want to scrapbook this particular trip. And then it's on a list. I need a list like that I can check off and say I'm doing that, or I'm thinking about it, or I know exactly how I want to scrapbook that particular trip or item. And so anyway, and so just to show you really quickly, so I just have my albums. I just have them different tags. So I have like different, like similar tags for each themed thing, like themed album. So Keaton has these like watercolory tags, and then I have different charms that kind of just fit the girls' personalities or fit the theme. So I have Christmas charms for my Christmas albums. I have some Halloween charms for my Halloween albums, and things like that. So, and then so I can just really easily go to her 2019 album and just pull it and look through it. And so yeah. So I hope that wasn't really boring. I just wanted to kind of talk you through what I've been working on for the last few months with organizing my photos. And I think the photo cases are fine. Like I think you could, even if you just you assessed what photos need to be printed, what photos you've already scrapbooked, and just put all your photos into those little photo boxes and organize them by date, that would be perfectly fine. I just feel like this next step of getting them into the actual album itself is going to help me immensely. And it's also going to open up some space for me to organize some more of my scrapbook supplies that I need to organize desperately. One thing I also want to show you was what I did as I'm going through my photos, and if I'm figuring out that I have doubles that I don't need, or like very duplicate type of pictures, or pictures that are very similar, and I'm only going to scrapbook one of them. I'm just throwing them in here. And so this is going to be my box of duplicates that I can either give to the girls, and if they want to scrapbook them or have them, or if I am doing like maybe a relationship kind of layout where you're not scrapbooking a particular item or thing, but you're scrapbooking more of a topic, like I'd call it like Allie Edwards type of scrapbooking, where you're thinking about relationships or that kind of thing, and you just need pictures of people. Then I have, I could come and pull some of these photos or from parts of these photos from this box. So for instance, if I've already scrapbooked this layout in her as a senior picture, but what if I want to scrapbook about her love for dresses, or you know what I mean? Like I'm not gonna throw them away. So I'm trying to say I'm gonna keep them, and then If I need them, I'll have them. If I don't, then my girls can figure out, because they're pictures of them, and so they can keep them or do whatever they want with them. And I don't have a ton in here yet, but I haven't gone through, like, really. I'm gonna have a lot of these duplicates as like the early to mid 2000s, where I was getting doubles printed of everything. So before we went digital, and I knew I had that as a backup, just because I didn't, negatives were kind of a pain to, I still have them all, but they were a pain to like take back in and have reprinted. So, but once you went digital, you knew that you had that copy on your computer or disk or whatever, and then you could just reprint it. But, so gosh, I hope that wasn't too boring. I hope that was helpful. And that can help maybe someone organize in their head how they maybe want to address a photo disorganization situation. Think about how you scrapbook. Think about how you organize your scrapbook product, and let that guide how you organize your photos. Because since I know that, I scrapbook Christmas pictures and I put them in their own album, and I have lots of Christmas product, it makes most sense to me to be able to pull out one box and have all my Christmas photos there. And so think, when you're organizing your photos, think about it that way, and just how it works easiest for you, and your process. So I hope that helps. If you guys have any questions, if I missed something or forgot something, that I may not be thinking about as far as issues that you guys may be having with the photo organization. One issue before I go here is larger photos. And right now I just have them like piled in the lid of each of those containers. And those you can get like those bigger photo boxes. And I think the best route for those is just to like organize them, by dates, and then if you want to somehow figure out how to cross-reference to remind yourself that you have larger photos in there. I'm trying to get my larger photos just scrapbooked right now. And I've been trying to work on those, but those are hard because they don't fit into the little cases. So you have to come up with a little bit different system. But if you can somehow cross-reference, like say there's a 5x7 prom picture in large photo box, just write yourself a note somewhere. Then when you're doing your prom pictures, you can remember, okay, go pull those photos as well. And so my goal, and I've talked about this before, is to have all my photos and scrapbook pages together. I don't want to have separate photo albums. I don't want to have piles of photos. I just want to have all my pages and photos, even if they aren't being scrapbooked separately, but if they're together accompanying the pages, and the ephemera that, like the programs and those kinds of things that go along with whatever I've scrapbooked, if there's any of that kind of stuff, I want it all together just to see the whole picture. That's just the way I work. It just makes more sense to me to have it all together versus I don't want to have a separate photo album. I want this to be my photo album, and that's why I use the divided page protectors, and some of the photos will stay in those divided page protectors. The nice thing is you can still decorate those up a little bit if you want to, or you don't have to. You can just say, I'm going to scrapbook 3 photos from this music concert, and the rest are all going to go in a divided page protector next to the layout. And it just helps you can see the whole story and the whole evening there, and then the program is maybe in the middle. And that just makes most sense to me versus having it in a bunch of separate places. So I will quit babbling, you guys. I hope this helped somebody. Holler if you have any questions. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.